Hey all, in this lesson we're going to talk about grounding. Grounding is one of the big mistakes most first-time digital scrapbookers make when composing their layouts. I have here just a couple cow photos I took. I just threw on here, and in my layers palette I have some papers and some other elements that I have in invisible mode so that I wouldn't have to take time during this video to drag them into the layout, and I can just make them visible to use them. First of all, most of the time we have some sort of mat under our photos. So I'm going to take the rectangular marquee tool, make a selection of this orange paper and do a Control J to put it on its own layer. I'm going to make this paper layer the active layer again and make another selection. I'm not doing this too carefully. And Control J to put it on its own layer again, and I'm going to make this paper layer invisible. So now we have some mats. Of course, always look better with drop shadows. So we have our photos and they're on a mat, and maybe we want, I want to show you, this is Julie Bullock's kit. Let's go to the zoo, and it's a really awesome kit, and there's a ton of stuff in here, but that's the kit I decided to drag in here to utilize. We got a brad, and so I'm going to put this brad kind of to hold down the photo there. Maybe I'll make another one and we'll hold down the photo here. And I got the word fun here. I'm just going to add that. And let's say we do some journaling. I really liked the cows. They had, we went slightly into a not responding mode. They had as much fun as I did, I think, taking posing. How about posing for my camera? They were very interested. Okay, we're going to pretend that's big long journaling because I like big long journaling, but we're just going to put that down here, and maybe we'll add some more to this, and I'll put times for a title. Fun times. Let's see, I'm gonna get an orange color, maybe put a drop shadow on that and a drop shadow on this, so those kind of go together. Okay, so let's say this is the basics of our layout that we have out there. Right now nothing is grounded, and by that I mean everything is floating on the page. Nothing is feels like it's attached to anything. It feels like it's just kind of floating there on the page. And the simplest way to ground everything is to, let's get this paper here, is to simply make a mat. And I'm going to get the rectangular marquee tool, and I am going to draw, let's see, rule of thirds always works well. So I'm going to imagine about a third of the paper here and a third of the paper here, and I'm going to make a selection of the bottom third, hit Control J to make a mat layer to cut my paper out of this paper. I'm going to make the original paper invisible. Oh, now we have a little bit of layering problems. I'm going to have to bring it down below my other mats. Add a drop shadow to it. In this instance, it's always great to change the angle to get a little bit of that drop shadow to show up when it's on this very bottom edge. I'm going to lower that drop shadow just a tad. Look too high. Okay, so now anything, now it's grounded because I have something going from the right edge to the left edge. This particular mat is grounded. Now to ground everything else in the photo, in the layout, something has to touch something that's touching this mat that's touching all edges, if that makes sense. So right now this photo and mat is actually grounded because it is touching something that's touching the edges. I can ground my title simply by bringing it down, even though it's partly off the mat. Now it's grounded. These two up here are currently not grounded in any way. I can fix that simply by making this mat overlap this mat, and now everything is grounded but my text. Now my text, it isn't that important. I could leave it out there like that. That's not bad looking, but if I wanted to ground that text, one of the easiest ways to do that might be to make a little vellum, piece of vellum. I'm going to make a rectangular marquee selection, create a new layer, and I am going to fill it with white and simply lower the opacity of it. It needs to be lowered so it's underneath. There. Now my text is also grounded, and it's great to tuck the text into these little corners. The text doesn't need to be out here all in. I'm going to hit save. Hit save a lot, ladies. The text does not need to be out here just perfectly centered in this space. You have to remember to have everything bottom weighted because it feels the best when it's bottom weighted. And so, and vellum needs a little bit of a drop shadow. Probably spin that around. Okay, that leaving extra space at the top is good because it pushes down on everything and allows it to feel more bottom weighted. You have to remember that white space, which is space with nothing in it, even if it has a paper or it's actually white space. This whole area up here is white space, and having white space just feels so good. Let's say though I didn't want to have this mat and photo actually touching. I wanted to keep it up a little bit and maybe have my journaling over here. Okay, so let's bring that piece of vellum down even more so it's below that mat. Okay, now everything is still grounded except for this photo up here. It's floating. So I want to give you some more options other than just one mat in order to ground everything. I could suggest a ribbon. Ribbons are great for grounding. I'm going to add a drop shadow. It's not the best colored ribbon for this, but I could put the ribbon, let's put it underneath the photo rather than on the photo. Underneath the mat. There we go. So I could put this ribbon anywhere under here. Maybe right, well, if I'm looking for that other rule of thirds line, it would be about right here. Here's about a third, and here's about a third, maybe a little more down. So I could ground the photo simply that way. Now everything on this end is grounded by this paper at the bottom, and everything on the top is grounded by this ribbon because it touches the edges. Remember, you can ground things by going up and down. Let's say I wanted to just rotate this 90 degrees, and let's see, right there, about on the rule of third lines. Now I could either do the rule of third lines for the entire layout, or I can look at the photo, and right now it's in the 50% halfway mark of the photo. I could move it over so it is about a rule of thirds on this photo, and that also works, and especially since it conveniently goes along the edge of this one. That also works. So you can ground things by going up and down. Now that is grounded. Another way you might want to ground is to find some special elements, such as this tree branch that goes from one edge of the photo to the other. That touches the edge. It only has to touch the edge in a very small spot and then have something that touches that in order to ground. And so I'm trying to bring this down just a tad and maybe over. And remember, your mats don't have to be perfectly centered. That's another great tip that I can give people that are just learning to digital scrapbook. See, my mat is offset centered from my photo. I may want to add drop shadows to these photos. And always remember to hit save every once in a while. So now that top photo is grounded simply by that tree branch. I might want to, I actually like that tree branch. Having things like that in a kit are great. You might want to ground it by some other type of element, such as these flags. Having it go across the top from one to the other grounds the photo. And you can ground things from the top, from any edge. You saw how I grounded everything from the bottom. If I wanted to start here and have this going from one edge to the other and then ground everything else touching it, then this photo, let's take this off just for example, then this mat could touch that mat, and I'm actually going to offset this mat a little bit. And this vellum could touch that mat, and then the fun can touch the vellum, and I'm going to have that on top of the word fun, and now everything is grounded again, and it's all grounded because it touches barely right here and right here on the edges. It's not quite touching there. So there are lots of ways to ground things. Just holding something down with a little prong does not ground things. Grounding is where you have at least one thing that touches two edges. You could have a mat that, let's turn this off. You could have a mat that touches two edges, and now everything is grounded. This we're not got the best there, but this mat is touching this edge and this edge into the corner, so there's two edges. They don't have to be opposite edges, and now everything is touching this mat that's grounded, and therefore, whoops, not quite everything. Gotta bring this back up. Okay, now everything is grounded again. So grounding is one of the best things I can teach you to look at in your layouts when you're first digital scrapbooking, in order to make your layouts look better. No floating. That would be the rule. Have a good day.